Alright, so I know this is a little late as obviously we learned the news on Alex Caruso a few hours ago, but if you're following me on Twitter, I mentioned I would have a video out later this evening on my thoughts on this matter as I was out with my family today, and to be honest, I'm still trying to gather my thoughts, because quite frankly, the news of Caruso's injury and the fact that he'll be out at least 6 to 8 weeks following a surgery on his wrist has to be the hardest news to swallow if you're a Bulls fan. Now, I made a video just earlier this week on just how impactful someone like Alex Caruso is to this Bulls team, and all the numbers behind it in terms of how the Bulls perform when he's on the court versus off the court, particularly how valuable he is on the defensive end. We talked about how much the Bulls' net rating on defense has dropped significantly when Caruso was out of the lineup for those 13 straight games, and more importantly than anything, his impact on the court as an energizer, a glue guy that brings out the best in the rest of the roster, in feeding off of his energy and a vocal leader on the court. This is a massive, massive blow to the Bulls in how long he is going to be out. And of course, it coincides with the same timeline for which Lonzo Ball will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And when both of those guys are out, the Bulls have really struggled, particularly on defense. Like, we all saw the lack of energy and defensive effort in those few games in which both Lonzo and Caruso were out before Caruso's brief return before last night's ridiculously uncalled for foul on that punk Grayson Allen, which I'll get into in a bit. And yes, similar to what we talked about when we learned that Lonzo was going to be missing 6 to 8 weeks, I mentioned, the silver lining in it is that it provides opportunity for both Dosunmu and Coby White to showcase what they can do in the starting lineup and step up when the team really needs them. And with the exception of last night's game, they both have shown up incredibly well, playing with aggression, poise, and high IQ on the court. But as much as this provides them ample opportunity, especially with Lavine still remaining out, this presents some huge holes for the Bulls on defense, especially as it relates to their perimeter defense. Not only that, but you also have two other rotational players who are good defenders in Derrick Jones Jr. and Javonte Green, also still out of the lineup. Now, it does sound like both Lavine and Javonte Green will be returning to the lineup soon, as early as Wednesday. Both players did not travel on the most recent trip, so the soonest they would be able to be back is on Wednesday. But the thought is that they are trending in the right direction for a return. But let me say a few things about what happened last night that caused this injury, and then what subsequently followed this morning via social media from the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I had already had a 30 to 45 second rant last night on my thoughts on Grayson Allen and who he is as a player and person in last night's post-game video, and I'm going to try and keep this as clean as possible, even though I would like to be way harsher in my language. But what occurred last night on that play, in which Grayson Allen wound up to swing at Caruso for a second time after already fouling him while he was in mid-air going up for the basket, that caused Caruso to fall at an horizontal angle down on his wrist with such force that I was honestly shocked it wasn't worse, given it looked like his head took a pretty hard slam on the ground. And then, of course, Grayson Allen, being the piece of crap he is, didn't go over to Caruso to check on him to see if he was okay, walked over to the bench and started smirking and laughing after he was tossed from the game once the play was reviewed. Just shows you the kind of guy he is, that he didn't have any sense of remorse, that he could have seriously injured a player completely unnecessarily. Of course, he did injure him, but it could have been a lot worse. No, the clown didn't care at all. Then on top of that, you had Chris Middleton in his post-game press conference saying, in his view, it was just a quote-unquote good hard foul, and that he went for the ball and doesn't think Allen is a dirty player, and then added we were all disappointed seeing him ejected for that foul. Look, I get it's one thing to stand by your teammates and defend them, even if the media is trying to portray them in a bad light, but how the hell, after seeing that play in review on the big screen over and over, can you defend that and claim that it was just a good hard foul? Like, is this how you would react if the same was done to one of your teammates and the hard foul sidelined him for weeks on end? And then, of course, as if I didn't lose enough respect for the Milwaukee Bucks franchise and their fan base after the reactions to the play last night, you had the Milwaukee Bucks Twitter account come out this morning posting a video of Grayson Allen, which I assume was on their media day, eating a donut and smiling with the caption, "Good morning." That is despicable, disgraceful, and an embarrassment to that franchise after a play like that. And then, of course, they started blocking some big Bulls accounts when they replied to it, like the Bulls Talk account. Of course, like I expected, I even tweeted, they're likely going to delete this later on, which they did, of course, delete it after the announcement of Caruso's injury. Like, yeah, no shit, morons. Not so funny, is it? And I'm sure karma is going to come back and bite you in the ass. Again, apologies for my language. You guys know I like to keep it clean on the channel. But, like, are you kidding me? Like, who in the Bucks organization thought that that was a good idea? I really hope whoever the Bulls admin is for that Twitter account gets fired. Of course, no apology from the Bucks account for that idiotic, insensitive tweet, not from what I've seen anyway. So anyway, I guess it's on now. I guess if they want to play it that way, and they want to try to run and hide after they realize they messed up, well, they don't know what kind of team, fan base, and city they're messing with, do they? Bulls fans will eat you alive because unlike the majority of your fan base, who are fake trash-ass bandwagon fans because your team has been lousy for so many years and finally won one championship for the first time in 50 years, the first title in the post-shot clock era, unlike your fake fans, our fan base actually has real die-hard loyal fans who, by the way, you can thank for filling up your stadium for all those years whenever the Bulls came to town because you couldn't even pay people to attend a game in Milwaukee for years on end. Now, guys, look, I get that there will be some people who will probably think Bulls fans, including myself, are overreacting because this kind of play would have been considered a common foul back in the 80s and 90s. And yeah, you're probably right. This would have been seen as a nothing foul, or in the words of Middleton, a good hard foul in those days. But guess what? This isn't the NBA of the 90s. This is the NBA in 2022. And there is a reason these more strict rules have been put in place because of those hard fouls in the 90s that led to players getting their careers cut short because of ridiculous cheap shots that were commonplace. And the league finally put a stop to this nonsense to actually protect the integrity of their league and protect the players so they can actually, play basketball and not have to be sidelined from injuries because of hotheads who can't control themselves from making non-basketball plays. So no, it's not overreacting. These are how things operate in today's NBA, and if you don't like it, then maybe you should be watching something else. Also, I know some of you had asked me to share some of the clips of Grayson Allen and his ridiculous antics back when he was in college, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to indulge this clown and show off all of his dirty plays. We already know he has a history of this. Anyway, I know this video was basically just a big rant, but that's how fuming I was when I saw the news about Caruso earlier today and everything that was going through my mind when it happened. Grayson can go screw himself, and so can the Bucks franchise for trying to get cute on Twitter but ended up looking like assholes in the process. And the last thing you want to do is piss off Bulls fans knowing you have a game happening at the United Center in March. We'll be ready. Apologies for all the swearing. I just love the Bulls, and I don't stand for nonsense like this. Love you guys. Be sure to subscribe, as always, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.